The story surrounding the San Francisco 49ers this offseason is beginning to look less like a typical roster refresh and more like a calculated push toward another Super Bowl run. When you examine the moves one by one, the pattern becomes clear. This front office is not just filling holes. They are reshaping the identity of the roster while betting heavily on the development of their quarterback, Brock Purdy. And at the center of that transformation sits one of the biggest signings of the entire offseason, the arrival of veteran wide receiver Mike Evans. For years, San Francisco's offense has thrived on timing, yards after the catch, and elite play design from head coach Kyle Shanahan. But there has always been one missing component in crucial moments, particularly in the red zone and on contested third-down throws. That missing piece was a true dominant outside receiver who can win physical battles at the catch point. Evans brings exactly that. After nearly a decade defining consistency with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Evans now arrives in the Bay Area, believing he might be the final element needed to elevate the offense from dangerous contender to championship closer. Evans didn't hide his confidence when discussing the move. In fact, he openly described the 49ers as a team that was already close to the top of the mountain and simply needed one more weapon. From his perspective, that weapon is him. It's rare to hear a veteran speak that directly about his role in a title pursuit, but it reveals something important about how this roster is perceived around the league. Players see the infrastructure in San Francisco. They see the quarterback, the offensive system, the defense built around stars, and the culture that attracts veterans chasing a ring. That culture played a major role in the recruitment process, and no one pushed harder than star tight end George Kittle. Kittle reportedly gave Evans an unfiltered pitch about what it means to be part of the organization. He spoke about the ownership's investment in players, the travel conditions, the recovery resources, and the shared focus on winning a Super Bowl. That honesty resonated with Evans, who had spent his entire career in Tampa Bay and understood how rare it is to find a franchise that aligns the locker room, coaching staff, and ownership behind a singular goal. There was also a football reason for the move, and it begins with the quarterback. Evans still remembers the first time he saw Purdy up close. That moment came during Purdy's first career NFL start in 2022, when the young quarterback dismantled the Buccaneers' defense in a stunning performance. Even then, Evans noticed the traits that would later make Purdy one of the most efficient quarterbacks in football: anticipation, timing, calmness under pressure. Those are the qualities that receivers love because they create opportunities before defenders even realize the ball is coming. Evans has already made it clear that he views Purdy as one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the league. His goal now is to help elevate Purdy into the MVP conversation while chasing another championship. That partnership could become one of the most fascinating storylines of the upcoming season because stylistically it's a completely new dynamic for the 49ers offense. Historically, Shanahan's system has relied on receivers who separate through route precision or explode after the catch. Players like Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk thrived in that structure. Evans represents a different archetype entirely. He wins through size, positioning, and dominance at the catch point. That creates a new dimension for the offense, particularly inside the red zone, where San Francisco occasionally struggled to convert opportunities into touchdowns. The presence of Evans also reshapes the receiver hierarchy. Former first-round pick Ricky Pearsall now slides into a complementary role where his route running and quick separation can thrive without the pressure of being the primary target. Younger receivers like Jacob Cowing and Jordan Watkins suddenly become developmental depth instead of immediate starters. That type of structure is exactly what contending teams want because it allows talent to grow without being forced into high-leverage situations too early. But the receiver room might not be finished yet. In fact, signs are pointing toward another addition through the upcoming draft. With pick 27, one of the most frequently projected names to San Francisco is dynamic wide receiver KC Concepcion. The explosive playmaker dominated the SEC with nearly 50 receptions that converted directly into first downs or touchdowns. His ability to create yards after the catch fits perfectly into Shanahan's offensive philosophy, meaning the 49ers could soon possess a fascinating blend of receiver archetypes. If that scenario plays out, the offensive lineup could feature Evans as the physical boundary threat, Pearsall as the precision route technician, and Concepcion as the electric space weapon. That type of diversity would make defensive game planning extremely difficult because opponents would have to prepare for multiple styles of attack. And while the offense grabs the headlines, the defensive side of the roster is undergoing its own transformation. One of the more intriguing under-the-radar moves involves the signing of cornerback Nate Hobbs. Just 1 year ago, Hobbs was given a major contract by the Green Bay Packers that included $16 million guaranteed. Now he arrives in San Francisco on a 1-year deal after injuries limited his impact. At first glance, this looks like a depth signing, but the context reveals a more strategic purpose. Hobbs has historically played his best football as a slot cornerback, where his physicality and quick reaction time make him particularly effective against short passing concepts. However, San Francisco already appears committed to rookie slot defender Upton Stout. That means Hobbs may instead fill the role previously occupied by depth cornerback Chase Lucas, while also contributing on special teams. Athletically, Hobbs fits the type of profile the 49ers value in the secondary. His vertical jump and broad jump scores placed him among the most explosive defensive backs entering the league. That kind of athletic ceiling suggests that if he stays healthy, he could provide meaningful rotational snaps in the secondary. The defense also received an emotional boost with the return of linebacker Dre Greenlaw. After a frustrating injury stretch that limited his availability, Greenlaw now returns to the franchise where he built his reputation as one of the league's most instinctive linebackers. Even in a limited sample of snaps last season, he demonstrated that his ability to diagnose run plays and cover in space remains among the best at the position. His reunion with All-Pro linebacker Fred Warner restores one of the most effective linebacker pairings in football. When those two are healthy, the middle of the field becomes incredibly difficult for opposing offenses to exploit. That alone could have a major impact on the defensive efficiency of the team moving forward. Before we continue breaking down the rest of these offseason moves, take a second to support the channel. If you enjoy deep NFL breakdowns like this and want more detailed analysis on roster moves, draft strategy, and championship contenders, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a future breakdown. Of course, not every headline this offseason has been about additions. One surprising development came when defensive end Bryce Huff announced his retirement at just 27 years old. The move clears significant salary cap space for the organization while also creating another rotational opening along the defensive front. Financial flexibility has quietly become another advantage for the franchise. Thanks to injury insurance policies tied to several star players, the 49ers are projected to receive a massive salary cap adjustment exceeding $20 million in the 2026 season. That adjustment is expected to include reimbursement tied to injuries suffered by players such as star pass rusher Nick Bosa. That kind of financial cushion could become extremely valuable when the time comes to extend younger stars or pursue another high-impact veteran. Contending teams rarely have the luxury of additional cap space, but San Francisco may soon find itself in exactly that position. The scouting department is also preparing for the next phase of roster building through the draft. Beyond wide receiver targets, the team has reportedly shown interest in pass rushing prospects, including Romello Height. Height generated 70 pressures and 9 sacks during his final college season, showcasing the type of explosive edge speed that modern defenses covet. Another prospect gaining attention is defensive end Malachi Lawrence, an athlete who posted one of the highest combined athleticism scores among edge rushers. Scouts believe his burst off the line and deep arsenal of pass rush moves could translate into immediate pressure production at the professional level. If San Francisco manages to land both an explosive receiver and a developmental pass rusher in the early rounds, the roster could become even deeper than it already appears on paper. And when you step back and look at the entire offseason picture, one theme becomes clear. The 49ers are not rebuilding. They are recalibrating. They are surrounding Purdy with new weapons, restoring defensive leadership, and maintaining the aggressive roster philosophy that has kept them in the championship conversation for several years. Now the question becomes whether these calculated moves will finally push the franchise over the final hurdle. Because in the modern NFL, championship windows can close quickly. Injuries, contract cycles, and roster turnover can shift the balance of power in a single offseason. But right now, San Francisco appears determined to extend that window as long as possible. And if Evans truly becomes the missing piece he believes himself to be, the next chapter of 49ers football could be one of the most dangerous eras the franchise has ever assembled. If you want more deep dive coverage of the 49ers, offseason analysis, and upcoming draft predictions, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next breakdown.